In the year 1900, one of the most tragic events would take McDonough, Georgia by surprise. Rain for days would flood Camp Creek. Its banks would swell way beyond its bounds, destroying a train trestle. Appalachia, the mountains, are like no other. From its rigid terrain, beautiful wildlife, to the people that live their lives here, to the strange, unexplained stories that folks share. Join me while I share this amazing place, one story at a time. June 11th, 1900, it began to rain in McDonough, Georgia, and it would rain for 2 weeks straight, swelling the creeks beyond its bounds, sending thousands of gallons of water downstream, destroying everything in its path. June 23rd, 1900, engineer J.T. Sullivan of the Southern Railroad Engine No. 7 departs Macon, Georgia at 7:10 p.m., headed for Atlanta. Sullivan was supposed to be home enjoying some rest and relaxation, but the engineer that was supposed to run the line that night had to stay home, for his little girl was stricken with pneumonia. Sullivan, being the kind feller he was, filled in so he could take care of her. The engine number 7 pulled into McDonough Station on time, but the Columbus connecting train car wasn't there. They were late. The number 7 train had to depart the station without the other cars. The passengers aboard this train, along with folks in the McDonough station, wanted Sullivan to wait till daybreak in fear of the rain, for it was raining so hard you couldn't see anything. Sullivan replied, "We'll either be eating breakfast in Atlanta or hell." At 9:45 p.m., he received his orders to depart for Atlanta, and he left the station. 1.5 miles from the McDonough station was a Camp Creek trestle. It had brick supports. The raging creek, swollen from the 2 weeks' rain, swept the supports away. As Sullivan approached, he saw this and threw the brakes. But it was way too late. The engine number 7 and 2 coach cars went over the trestle, and the weight was too much for it, so it collapsed. The moment the train hit the water, it exploded in a ball of flames, the flames spreading over the 2 coach cars. Only the Pullman car wasn't burned. Sullivan and his crew were killed upon impact, and the first 2 cars all were burned before they could escape. Only 10 people would survive. The flagman J.J. Quinton first climbed the muddy creek bank and then helped the others out. Then he ran back to McDonough to have the telegraph operator to call for help before he passed out into the floor from exhaustion. The men of the town flew to the scene to rescue the others, but the fire was so intense they couldn't reach the train till the morning when it died down. A train from Atlanta arrived at daybreak with doctors and preachers. So many of the dead victims were only ID'd by the contents of their pockets due to the intense fire. The bodies were taken to the town square and then laid out for identifying by the families of the deceased. This was the most tragic disaster to ever hit McDonough, Georgia. 35 folks died in this tragedy. In their memory, this is their names. Atlanta conductor William A. Barkley. Atlanta conductor J. E. Wood. Atlanta conductor J. A. Honeycutt. Engineer J. T. Sullivan. Atlanta bagmaster W. W. Bennett. Atlanta cotton buyer T. E. Maddox. William J. Patt of Atlanta. 12-year-old son of W. J. Patt of Atlanta. Pullman conductor H. R. Crescenus. George W. Flournoy of Atlanta. D. C. Hightower of Stockbridge, Georgia. W. W. Spark of Macon, Georgia. Elder Henson, a traveling man believed to be of Florida. J. R. Florida of Nashville, Tennessee. Bridgman W. O. Ellis of Stockbridge, Georgia. Supervisor D. Y. Griffith. Flagman J. H. Road. John Brantley. Will Green, an extra fireman. Pump repairer W. L. Morissette. Foreman extra gang W. R. Lawrence. Atlanta fireman Ed Bird. The train porter Robert Spencer, along with 8 section hands and 4 unidentified bodies. Folks, I want to thank you for sitting and listening to the 1900 train crash on Camp Creek near McDonough, Georgia. Well, I appreciate you listening. I love you to pieces, and I'll see you next time.